Hey guys, so this video right here is going to be intense, and it's a video I wish I saw in the very beginning, okay? And by the way, although I am an accountant, when I graduated, I never got any of this information I'm going to give you guys in this video right here. Now, if you just found this video because basically you're on YouTube or a friend shared it with you, my name is TommyBryson, I'm an accountant, and I'm gonna give you financial advice for young adults between the ages of 18 to 25, but in reality, let's be honest here, it can apply for you if you are older, like much older, and the younger you see this video, the better it actually is. And I'm gonna tell you guys about 7 pieces of advice when it comes to taxes, debt, investments, student loan debt, health insurance, saving money, and lastly, buying a home. I told you, this video is going to go into deep detail, so grab a pen and a paper to take down notes. Actually, grab a pencil in case you need to erase something here and there, because this video is going to be awesome. Now, if you guys are new here, I post videos on YouTube, so make sure to also subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you get notified, and top out also destroy the like button, and that way YouTube, the algorithm, pushes this video further and further out there into the YouTube world. So yeah, like this video, destroy the like button. Now, the very first piece of advice, guys, is going to be on taxes. Now, obviously, very important. We're gonna break down, for example, FICA tax, state tax, federal tax, and also, for example, capital gains tax. And by the way, one great way to save money in taxes is to make less earned income. And that way, you don't have to pay taxes on that money you actually made. For example, I've made $24,000 this year almost, okay, in income, but, well, not earned income. And in reality, I don't have to pay taxes because in reality, I have not realized that income, which is awesome if you ask me. However, though, this is important because if you ever gotten a paycheck, you always see gross pay, a lot of money. Then you see, for example, net pay. And you see minus, and you're like, okay, so somebody's either robbing me or there is a mistake. No, there is no mistake. So the very first part, guys, is FICA tax. FICA tax is basically Medicare and also, for example, Social Security. Now, what you do here is between you and your employer, you pay this tax. In reality, it's around 15.3%, but you pay half, they pay half. So in reality, your half is around 7.65% that goes towards Medicaid and also Social Security. Now, this is for obviously when you get older, you have Social Security coming in, income, and you also have insurance. That way, you don't got to worry that much, okay? Now, if you are, for example, self-employed, meaning you have no boss, guess what? You have to pay that entire 15.3% by yourself, which in reality is a ton of money. So if you are there, get an accountant to help you out, building, for example, an S corporation or helping you lower this amount by a lot, okay? So that's what I recommend. But overall, guys, this is obviously important, but I don't like it, but that's where that money is going. So security and also Medicaid. Then you also have state taxes. Now, by the way, state taxes are not made equal, okay? They're not fixed, like, for example, FICA tax. State taxes ranges based on the state that you actually live. So right now, the highest state tax on income tax is basically California at around 13.3%. That's why so many people are actually leaving, because what? But yeah, usually it ranges from around 8 to 10% to sometimes even 6%. Now, the best way to avoid this, and by the way, this money is used for the state to pay the government employees there and to also like fund all the government programs inside of that state. Okay, that's where that money basically goes. But in reality, a great way to avoid this is to move to a state that does not have state income tax. For example, like Florida or Texas or Nevada / Las Vegas, or there's a few other states out there, but those are the ones that are coming to my mind right now. But yeah, that's one way I managed to save money on these taxes, because in reality, I no longer live in the US. I live in Puerto Rico. And then lastly, you have federal taxes, anywhere from around 0% technically, all those actually 10%, all the way up to 37%. But in reality, don't think that basically, hey, Tommy, I'm gonna be taxed so much money. In reality, usually, you're only gonna, like, the average person to pay like around like 22, it's like around 24%. And it's not like you pay 24% on every dollar you make, but in reality, you only pay that extra percentage on the money that goes over the bracket. So in reality, in order to actually get taxed at 10%, you have to make between $0 to like around $9,000, okay? That's how it works. And to get taxed at, for example, 12%, well, you have to make around $9,000 to $40,000. But in reality, it's only the amount that goes above the $9,000 to $40,000 that actually gets taxed at 12%. The other gets taxed at 10%. That's why they call it marginal taxes. But overall, guys, that's it for taxes. You have FICA, state taxes, and federal taxes, okay? And to avoid federal taxes, you gotta like leave the US, okay? A lot of the time. So I live in Puerto Rico, so I don't pay federal taxes anymore, and that was one way to avoid it, okay? And if you make a good amount of money, it is definitely worth it. And lastly, as a bonus here, you also have, for example, capital gains taxes, but in reality, that's like a little more complicated. But to make it simple, it's a tax you get when you make an investment and you have a profit, okay? And you can be taxed, for example, long-term capital gains tax or short-term. Short-term, the money gets put into your ordinary taxes, which means you pay normal taxes on it. But long-term, you hold it for at least a year and 1 day. You get taxed around 0% or 15% or 20%, okay? So capital gains taxes, stocks, real estate, and those investments right there. But yeah, taxes. You love them? I do. I definitely do. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I do. Now, number 2, guys, is going to be debt. Ooh, this right here is a big one. Now, for context here, debt is whenever you borrow money to buy something that you actually want to buy, right? Awesome, right? I got money from somebody else. But in reality, you're going to pay that money, extra money, and that's going to be called the interest you pay them because, hey, they're not going to do it for free. That's their profit. And in reality, the rate on that interest is basically your APR, meaning, hey, how much percentage are you charging me extra to basically borrow that money? Because every time you borrow money, usually you're going to pay extra money on it, which basically sucks, but it is the way it works. In reality, it can lead you to owing and owing and owing and then having no means of actually paying back. Now, I found this great example on Reddit, and I think the subreddit was actually called Personal Finance. And it basically said, well, you borrow $1,000 at 3% for student loans, and you only pay like around $30. Not bad. And then you go ahead and you buy a car, right? And you actually, you buy a car, you borrow $1,000 and you borrow that at, for example, 12%, right? And that's around $120. But then you go onto a credit card and you borrow at 24.95%. And then you're stuck paying them, for example, $249.95 every single year in interest. And that's where things get crazy. They get bonkers, okay? Because guess what? The longer you go without paying that debt, the more profit they're going to make and the less money you're going to have in your pocket. And that's why you have people living paycheck to paycheck because all their money goes towards all the debt that they actually have and all of the bills. So what is my advice here? My advice is practice delayed gratification and also paying for things in cash. Meaning, for example, hey, if you want to buy a car, buy the car you need and are able to afford right now, between $1,000 to $3,000. And that way you pay cash for it. And stop the BS where you say, hey, Tommy, I don't want to drive a used car. It's going to give me problems. In reality, don't be stupid. Every single car you see on the road is used. Guaranteed. Every single one. And if it's not used, tomorrow it will be used, right? It's just the way it works. And not every used car is going to be bad. So before you buy the used car, take it to a mechanic, get it checked out, inspected, and then make sure it's solid. And then you go ahead and buy brands that actually work. Hondas, Toyotas, and Mazdas are top notch, okay? I drive Toyota Prius 2014. I paid $9K cash for it. It's my car, no car payments, no nothing. Now, when I actually want to buy that Kia Stinger that I want for like around $54,000, or for example, a Mercedes, well, guess what? I'll save up money for it and then buy it when I can actually afford it later on. That's the idea. When it comes to, for example, student loan debt, the answer is, it's very simple. Scholarships, having a job, and going to a cheap college. Now, will you fully graduate, for example, without debt? The answer is probably not, but by doing this, you'll graduate with a lot less debt than the average person, which will allow you to pay it off a lot faster. Credit card debt. A lot of us get into credit card debt because basically we want to build credit, but in reality, you don't need credit to buy a house. It's not true. They do manual underwriting. But if you still want to build credit, the answer is just get 1 or 2 credit cards and put one small bill on each of them and pay them in full every single month. Cut the credit cards, don't use them. That's called the one bill method, and it is a hack to build credit without getting into debt or paying them any interest whatsoever. That's what I do, and I paid down around $13,000 in credit card debt by using this method. Today, I don't have any credit card debt, but I do have a high credit score of around 750 plus, okay? That's the idea, and that's what I do currently. So debt, avoid it. Now, number 3, guys, is investing and also retirement accounts. Now, on average, everyone wants to start right here. Tommy, I want to have my money make me more money, so let's start investing. But if you're not financially stable and you still have debt, for example, usually it just won't be worth it. If you're paying a credit card 25%, but only making, for example, 10% over here, the answer is all your profits are basically being eaten up. So it's better just to pay off the debt first. And for example, if you are not financially stable, well, if you have an emergency, you're probably gonna have to sell your investments, and that's not what you want. And by the way, definition of investing, my very simplistic definition is basically, hey, you basically use your money to make you more money, right? Just a profit. That's what an investment basically is. Use money to make you more money and make a profit. That's the idea. Whether it's I use $100 to buy me, for example, 10 lemons to basically go ahead and make lemonade, sell it for a profit, that's the idea. Or if I use my money to invest into Facebook or into a stock or whatever it is, that's also an investment. But an investment is not gambling. Buying something you don't understand or hoping it works out or putting money into this guy or this girl because I believe in them and I don't really understand what they're doing. The answer is no. Putting money into things you fully comprehend and understand and have experience with is an investment, because you can guarantee to some level you will actually get your money in a safely manner, basically. That, my friends, is an investment. But for this video, guys, we're gonna focus on basically investing the way I invest, which is basically for the long term, to make passive income and to live off that passive income without requiring a lot of work. Now, how do I do this? I do this by investing into index funds, okay? It's the way I do things. And by the way, putting money into a savings account is not an investment, because guess what? Every single year, money devalues because they print more money, right? It's just the way it works. So if you save this money, right, with a bank, and they give you 1% or 3%, maybe when you're watching this video, I don't know, things might change, or less than 1% actually, guess what? Inflation is going to eat up all your money. So it does not make sense, and it is not an investment. An investment has to make you enough money to basically cover the taxes, cover the inflation, and then also include your profits in there. Around 8 to 12% is a very healthy rate of return on your investment, in my opinion. Now, here is what I actually invest into. I invest into the stock market. I buy index funds. I don't buy single stocks, because in reality, when you're doing that, you're putting money into a business. If you don't have accounting skills and also finance skills, and you're not willing to risk your money in there, it takes a lot of work and research. I don't want to do all that work. I don't want to spend 8 hours reading every single day. So instead, I put my money into index funds, a very passive way of investing. What is it? How does it work? It's basically me and you and other strangers pooling in money to try to track a certain aspect of the market. An index is just basically a form to track performance in something. So when I put my money, for example, into the S&P 500 index fund, S, the letter S, and P 500 index fund, I'm putting my money, and it's being invested into the 500 largest companies in the US. Meaning, for example, I have a whole bucket with 500 investments, while that person has a bucket, for example, with 1 or 2 investments. For example, they have Apple, they have Microsoft, and Facebook in there, right? If those companies fail, they lose everything. But me, though, I have so many investments to the point where, hey, I'm too diversified to basically lose everything in one go around. That's the point. And that's an index. In reality, investing into all of those companies is going to give me the overall performance of the US stock market. It is really that simple. So you buy the whole market instead of trying to pick and choose and hope that what you bought actually works out. And by the way, I don't negate that investing this way is a bad thing if you want to pick companies, but I do recommend read this book if that is what you want to do right here. Very important book. And also, for example, this book right here. Very awesome book on investing. And then lastly, also this book. Like I told you guys, okay, investing this way, picking stocks is very difficult. If you want to do index funds, it does not require that much work. And I'm going to put down a video breaking down everything. That way you know exactly how to invest, how I do it, what company I use, and everything like that. Okay, so again, the link is going to be in the description down below. By the way, hit a like on this video if you like investing and making money. And if you're interested in making passive income, because again, the link is down below. And by the way, it's free. Everything's free, so don't worry. But like the video though, I do appreciate it. Now for context here, remember, this is a big tip. When it comes to investing and also retirement accounts, remember, the earlier you start, the better it's going to be. Now for retirement accounts, usually I recommend the Roth options. Roth, whenever you hear Roth 401k, Roth 403b plan, Roth IRA plan, think about basically you are going to pay taxes today on that money, right? And then you're going to go ahead and grab your money after you pay taxes and invest it into an account that does not charge you any taxes for the growth. And when you take the money out, you don't pay any taxes. It's basically a retirement account, and the government gives you an incentive because basically they want their citizens to have money when the retirement actually comes into play. Now, when you think about, for example, non-Roth accounts, for example, 401k, IRA, 403b plan, these accounts do not pay taxes today, but they will pay taxes in the future. Meaning, hey, I don't pay tax, so I invest before I even get taxed, and then that money grows tax-free. But then later, when I take that money out, I will pay taxes. And that can be a problem because basically you'll need that money tomorrow, not today. Again, practice deferred gratification. Very important. And the earlier you start, the better it is. If you are 40 years old and you invest until you're 65 years old, $2,000 per month, you'll only have around $2.5 million, okay, at a 10% return. But if you start at age 20 until you're 65 years old, okay, and you just invest, for example, $500 per month at 10%, you'll have around $4.7 million. So obviously, the earlier you start, the better it is. But make sure you have no debts. You have an emergency account. So that way you're stable and don't have to worry about anything out there. That's also very important. Now, number 4, guys, is actually paying off student loan debt, okay? And also avoiding student loan debt. Now, when you think about student loans, you think about, for example, bachelor's degree, master's, and also, for example, med school, right? Or grad school. And this stuff can be very expensive. Now, my advice is don't ever get a degree without thinking. And don't ever upgrade your degree without thinking. If me getting a master's is going to make me an extra $5,000 a year, but it's going to cost me around $50,000 to $100,000, hey, I'm not going to do that because that makes no sense. That's the point. So always think before you go ahead and get a degree, and always make sure it actually makes sense. Now, overall, you have private student loans, you have federal student loans, okay? Usually private student loans are less flexible. They cost a lot more money. Federals are a lot more flexible and usually cost a lot less money. And you can also negotiate to actually pay as you earn, pay as you go, have term plans, and a lot more flexibility overall with federal plans. However, I've always had federal student loan debt. But whatever you have, you got to pay at some point. That's the whole idea. Now, my advice is this, okay? There are 2 main things that are going to help you pay off your student loan debt as fast as possible. But first, if you can avoid them, meaning apply for scholarships, go to a cheap school, and also get a job and save up. My whole idea would have been I would have gone to community college first, gotten all those credits for very cheap, gotten a job, save up money, and then transfer to a 4-year school, transfer all of my credits, skip all that general education, and basically graduate with a debt-free degree as fast as possible. But if you want more information on that, I'll link down below to a video covering how to get a debt-free degree. But overall, the 2 main factors that are going to help you out a lot when it comes to paying off your student loan debt is basically using the avalanche method and also having a deadline when it comes to by what day do you actually want to be done with your student loan degree. If you have no goal, you have no way to fail. And people don't like failing, but you got to have a goal in mind. Now, first, get a budget. You pay your necessities like shelter, utilities, groceries, transportation. All the extra money left over, you put that into paying off your student loan debt. That's the idea. How do you pay it? If you have student loan debt broken up, for example, into different amounts, like, hey, $3,000 over here at this rate, 5K over here at this rate, you pay the one with the highest APR. Mathematically, that's going to save you money, and that's also called the avalanche method. Now, overall, what else would I do? I would go on Bankrate and use, for example, a loan amortization schedule. This right here is a calculator, okay? The link is down below. Click it if you want to use it. And you basically put in your total loan amount. Just put in the total, doesn't matter. And then put in, for example, by what date you want to be finished. For example, 5 years, 3 years, 2 years, whatever it is. And then put in, for example, your interest rate. And then on the side is going to tell you exactly how much money you got to pay per month to be done in that time. That's the idea. You gotta have, for example, a deadline. So that way you know exactly how much money to pay when you actually get paid. And also my advice is pay the money whenever you get paid. Do not save the money to then pay it, because usually something is going to pop up. So don't do it like that. I would just pay as I get paid. That way I have no chance to spend that money on anything else. That's the idea. Student loans suck, but they are worth it sometimes. But in reality, there is a way to get a debt-free degree, community college, then transfer your school, save up money, scholarships, and everything else, okay? So again, link is down below. You can pay them, but the best thing would be to avoid them, okay? Avoid them. And by the way, don't believe the hype behind, hey, I gotta go to this private, expensive school. Not true. I gotta get this master's because I'm gonna get more. No, do your research. This is your career, your money, your degree, your future. So don't just believe what you heard on the internet. No, don't believe me either. Go look it up, search it, and do your own research. That right there is my advice when it comes to student loan debt. I owe around $20,000 till this day. I'm waiting until January when they charge interest, but guess what? Your boy already has that $20,000 saved up in cash to pay it off when the time comes, because right now I'm not paying any interest and my money can earn me more money. That's the idea. Now, number 5, guys, is actually health insurance. No matter how young you are, how cool you think you are, you can break a leg, you can break an arm, who knows, and things are going to be very expensive. Now, obviously, you know, things are very expensive. You know, health insurance is very expensive. A, because we're in America, and then B, because most people, whenever they have health insurance, they want to make sure if they do get sick or anything happens, they don't pay anything out of pocket. And that's where things get so expensive. However, that's why you end up paying such high premiums every single month, around $300, $400, $500, even $600. It is crazy if you ask me, just to avoid paying money when the thing does happen. But in reality, you know, if you don't get sick that often, I'm not telling you not to get health insurance. You have to get it. I recommend it strongly. But I'm saying you can get, for example, a high deductible health plan. You probably never heard about this, but what this is basically, you pay more money out of pocket, but in return, you pay less money in premiums. Meaning, instead of paying $400 a month, I might pay $150 a month, okay? And that saves me a bunch of money every single month. Now, on top of that, I can go ahead and save money in a health savings account. Now, what is this? It's basically an investment account, tax-free, but just for medical expenses. So that money can be used to cover when you gotta go out of pocket because basically you have a higher deductible. Now, the way I can break this down is basically like, think about it like this, okay? If you ever had, for example, an iPhone and you had insurance on it, and they said, well, if you pay us $15 per month, we will cover the full cost of the iPhone. But if you pay us $200 as a deductible, you can pay us, for example, $5 per month, okay? That's the idea. So you pay literally like twice as less, but the con is that, hey, if it does get lost, you pay more money. That's the entire thing. But if you do put your money, for example, the difference, okay? Let me break this down very cleverly here, okay? Again, forget about the iPhone. Think about just a health plan. If you have a high deductible health plan, you'll pay less money per month in premiums, and you will have a higher deductible of around $2,000, $3,000 if anything does happen. Meaning, if I break my leg and it's gonna cost me $10,000, I have to pay out of pocket $2,000, $3,000, okay? That's the cap right there. However, because I can also have an investment account, an HSA account for it, I can invest $3,600 every single year in that account and have that build up, build up, build up, and make me more money. Now, if I put in that max amount, $3,600, okay, for 10 years at around 10%, I'm gonna have around $65,000 in there. Now, how many bones do you have to break to max that out? A lot of bones, okay? That's the idea, because no matter what, you do have a cap, usually of no more than $10,000. That is the idea, but that money is already going to be saved up. So the big difference is, for a moment in time, you have to basically save the money you would have paid in premiums and invest it into the HSA account. Once you build up a good chunk of money in there, you can basically have more confidence saying like, hey, I'm always gonna have that money, I'm secured, I'm good to go. That is the idea, and that is the health plan that I'm gonna get, because hey, in a few more months, I'm not gonna be able to use, for example, my mom's insurance, and also I'm not in the US anymore. So there's that to think about, okay? But yes, I'm gonna get a high deductible health plan, so look into that and ask your employer about that also. By the way, link is down below on basically healthcare.gov if you want to apply for insurance and all that stuff, if you can't qualify for your parents' insurance and all that stuff. Guys, check the description. There's a lot of information there, so check it out, check it out, check it out. Now, number 6, guys, is saving money, which is the biggest waste of money in history, if you ask me, and you should never save money for the sake of saving money, okay? I know, crazy. But the idea is that basically when you save money, inflation is going to eat up all your money, okay? That's the idea. It just makes no sense. But I do think you should have money saved on the side for future expenses, for your emergency account, and also for a sinking account. But that's the only saved money you should have for those purposes right there. So for example, for context, I don't have money saved up for no reason, because I just want to have it saved up and my savings account pays me 1%, so I'm so happy. No, I don't have that. What I do have, for example, is I have 6 months worth of expenses in my emergency account. Okay, good, taken care of. By the way, I use SoFi Money. If you want to use it, go on Google, look it up, or I'll put a link down below for referral links. If I do have the link down below, click it. It helps me out and it helps you out too. Get like 50 bucks, I think. If I don't have one there, look it up in the comments down below. Somebody's bound to post their referral link there also. Now, overall, emergency account. But I also have, for example, a savings account for my home that I'm going to buy. And in that account, I have around 75% of the money I'm going to need to buy my home. So I can basically put down 75% as a down payment when I do buy my home. That's the money I have in there. Then I also need to save up money for my wedding, and also, for example, for a sinking fund for my car. But that's about it. I don't have any other money saved up. That's it. All of my extra money goes towards where? Investments, because my investments are going to make me more money, more money, more money, more money. And that's what you want. You don't want to invest in a CD or a savings accounts, because that stuff sucks, okay? Don't do it. Now, lastly, number 7 here is home buying. Now, this right here is very important, because most people, they buy a home and they become home poor, cash poor, because all of their money goes towards this home, and they end up paying it in 30 years. And by that time, they're almost like not here anymore. So what's the point? Okay. Now, the purpose of a home is shelter, and it's going to lower your expenses by a lot. A home in reality is not really an investment, because when you calculate, for example, all of the expenses that you're actually going to be paying in this home, taxes, the insurance, the maintenance, all that stuff, whatever you think you're going to make 20 years from now, in reality, you already paid that much money and all that cost, okay? So think about it like, hey, I want to buy a home to lower my cost of living, so that way I can need less money when I do retire, and I can live a more happy life without having, for example, this crazy mortgage. So what's my plan to buy a home? I use something called the 33% rule on a 15-year mortgage. What does this mean exactly? I have a full video, link is down below if you want more information. But overall, it's simple. The rule says that I cannot use more than 33% of my monthly income to buy a home, to cover, for example, the mortgage, the insurance, the taxes, maintenance, and everything HOA fee that might come with that home. And by the way, when you buy this home, put around at least 10 to 20% minimum when it comes to the down payments. No 3.5%, no 0% down, not a good idea. And you also want to get it on a 15-year mortgage. Now, what is this going to do? It is going to limit you to a cheaper house. It is going to get you to pay this home off earlier, because the goal is not to buy a home, but to own a home. Anyone in this world can buy anything these days, but very few people are actually the owners of anything anymore, because you buy a car, it's not yours. You buy a purse, it's not yours. You buy a TV, it's not yours. Furniture, not yours. Your house, not yours. Nothing's yours, okay? That's the idea, but you want to own it. Now, this means if I have an income of $4,000 per month, I'm going to be limited to 30% of this income for this home, meaning my budget is $1,320 to actually go ahead and buy this home. That's the idea. Now, for me, I've limited myself to around $200,000 to buy a home. And by the way, the average millionaire does not spend more than $300,000 on a home. $300,000. But Tommy, I live in California. In New York, it's $600,000, $500,000. Well, in reality, it might mean you just don't buy a home, bro. Just don't buy a home. It's that simple. If it's too expensive, you can't afford it, don't buy it. That's the idea. And by the way, last tip here is use a rent versus buy calculator. Renting is not throwing money away. It is you paying for a service. As Ramit Sethi says, it's like you going to the movies, you buy a movie ticket, watch a movie, you walk out with nothing. Just a good experience. Same thing with rent. You get shelter, you pay rent, not being wasted, you're just using that service, okay? That's the idea. So if I live in Manhattan and a condo is like $2.3 million, or I can rent for $2,000, I'm gonna rent for a while. Use a rent versus buy calculator to make sure it makes sense to actually buy a home. For me currently in Puerto Rico, it makes sense for me to basically buy a home if I'm gonna stay there for at least 5 to 10 years. But it's okay for me to keep renting for the next 5 to 10 years also. That's how crazy the math is. It's not that simple. Buying a home is not always a good choice. So make sure it makes sense for you. That's my advice. So if you remember anything in this video, always remember 33% rule and also 15-year mortgage. 30-year mortgage, you pay less money and you buy a more expensive home. That's not what you want, because you'll probably never be done paying for it. That's not what you want. But guys, overall, that has been 7 pieces of advice I wish I knew a lot more when I was younger about money. And most people till this day don't know. Between the ages of 18 to 25, no, I'm just kidding. Between the ages of 25 to 65. A lot of people don't know all this information. So there you go. If you watch this video, you're ahead of 80% of the average people out there. You know more than them. So use this, take your notes down, watch this video over and over again if you have to get all this information. That way you're good to go and you're able to make things happen. So guys, comment down below and let me know, was this video helpful? Let me know in the comments down below. On top of that, give this video a like and also share it with somebody that might need some extra help. On top of that, also, if you guys want to talk to me one-on-one, I have a link down below. Schedule a call with me for free, or send me a DM on Instagram at TommyBryson, or watch more content here, or click my face right here for more channels. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. As always, I'll see you guys next time. Long-term team for the win. Peace out.